Welcome back to the Unacceptable News. I'm your host, Justin Bush. Today's video is about UFOs. So I myself have seen dozens of UFOs at a very close range. I've seen several hundred anomalous objects over the course of my life, perhaps 1,000. I've been at multiple locations where so-called fleet UFOs or hundreds of these unidentified objects are flying around the sky simultaneously. I've had at least a few dozen close encounters with these anomalous objects. And today's video is going to be centered around these objects, their capabilities, what they look like, how they function. We are going to review a compilation video by the YouTuber Jeninde. It's Jeninded. We'll put a clip up of the channel so that you yourself can go over and show support. They have put up compilation videos of some of these absolutely fantastic UFO videos that have been seen all over the internet. Some of these UFO videos have been debunked, or at least allegedly debunked. I try to stay out of the debunking realm, especially when there's no evidence. So when you have a video that's anomalous and someone says, well, I could explain it this way. We actually, on UFO Twitter, there's a person that's a so-called debunker or a so-called UFO skeptic. And one of the ways that they would debunk a video is they would go through the video, they would find, let's say, a clip of it at a specific angle, and then they would capture that clip and then they put it up next to something else. So let's say if a UFO rotated in a right direction, they would stop it, take a photo, put it up next to, let's say, a helicopter and go, it's just a helicopter. Look at how similar it's shaped to a helicopter, even though when you watch the original video, it clearly is not a helicopter. So I try to be very careful about so-called debunkings. We'll put up a clip of one of the videos that has quote unquote been debunked. They essentially said this was a drone. With a tether attached to the bottom of lights. Some people said it was a kite, but essentially many UFO debunkers have said, well, it was anomalous, but really it's just a drone. It's got a tether attached to the bottom. There's really nothing to it. I don't think that you can simply say that without providing evidence of whose drone it is. Let's see the rig. Why don't they do it again? Why don't they just fly the drone up and we'll take another video? And then that way we can really see, is this thoroughly debunked, or are you just giving us an explanation? And I feel that in the UFO community, especially with the quality of evidence, just because you have a video of something you can't explain doesn't mean that it's aliens or secret government or whatever it may be. But we have this tendency, if the video evidence is not good enough, to just throw it out as if it doesn't matter at all. But when you look at the preponderance of evidence, the millions of videos across the world of these objects, many of them line up with what is reported by millions of people, even the people that don't get videos. So when you have this many eyewitnesses of these anomalous objects and their functionality, you have an issue with debunking where they say, well, if I could explain it, then it is explained. But that's not how science works. You either have evidence that proves that it's something normal, or you don't. And we have gotten into this thing where we just say it's debunked even if it hasn't been. We see it all the time, especially with mainstream media, especially with the internet talking heads. So I want to be really careful to say that some of these are debunked. But you know, these UFOs are exhibiting characteristics that have not been explained thoroughly. There are cases like in 1991 during an eclipse over Mexico City in Mexico. There was an object that was hovering, a silver object. It was captured by, I believe, no less than 16 different cameras, multiple different locations. These people captured this video, and from different locations. They have no idea who each other was, and the cameras that they all used were slightly different. They were all top of the line consumer cameras, some of the best cameras you could buy at the time in the 90s. So you have corroborative evidence of an unknown exhibiting characteristics that have not been explained. We don't have any prototypes that have been released to the public of objects that can do the things that these UFOs have been doing. When we see the evidence that has been brought forth in these videos, we can show you, for instance, that many of the debunkers will say it's a drone. Well, we have videos from space. You know, these videos from space, for instance, the one from SpaceX, this object is leaving Earth. So it is flying away from the gravity of Earth. It surpasses the SpaceX vehicle, which is flying at the time tens of thousands of miles an hour. It has gone up, it's broken out of the atmosphere. It is now trying to get into a low Earth orbit. So you have an object that is flying faster than SpaceX. In fact, right now we'll show you a STS video that shows an object shooting away from the gravity of Earth at an incomprehensible speed. So you have these objects that are doing these things like flying in space that cannot be done by simply a helicopter or an airplane or a drone. Even balloons that make their way to the upper layers of the atmosphere, once they get into space, they cannot have a directionality against gravity. The balloon, by definition, has only buoyancy. So when it gets to the highest layers of the atmosphere, the balloon expands under 0 G and it pops because the gas inside has more pressure than the space atmosphere. And so when you have an object flying away from the Earth, like in these videos, it must have some sort of propulsion mechanism. Either that or it had propulsion at one point in time, like a missile. It was given its thrust and then it simply continued on its course. But a balloon can't do that. A lot of times they say, well, it's just space junk. But space junk cannot propel itself on its own. It must have some means of propulsion to accomplish what it's accomplished. And especially when we talk about the STS video where this object changes direction and increases speed dramatically. We also have these UFOs that have been seen going in and out of volcanoes, and we could show you that. Now, you cannot take even an F-35, one of our most advanced flight vehicles, and go inside of a volcano. You cannot take a Harrier jet inside of a volcano. The propulsion needs airflow. You essentially have to have these engines be able to take in air and propel itself with their fuel. These jets specifically need that air fuel mixture to create thrust. So you cannot, even a Harrier jet that has vertical takeoff and landing cannot simply fly over, go inside of a UFO or go inside of a volcano and then come back out and fly away. And we've got dozens of videos of these objects entering and exiting volcanoes, active volcanoes from all around the world. We also have reports from military members from multiple different countries of these UFOs are being seen hovering over nuclear sites while the nuclear missiles are being shut down. So the system itself, which is a standalone system, so it can't be controlled from the outside, so nobody can hack into it. These systems are being modified while in close relationship to these unknown UFOs. This has been reported many times. So the electronic capability of a UFO flying next to a car and the car shutting off, a UFO flying next to a camera and the camera shutting off. We've got these anomalous effects by these UFOs that have been seen and reported many millions of times that no drone is a thorough enough explanation to make UFOs go away, which is why they're still, in the mainstream media. Even if they deny for many decades, it's still a part of our culture that we know that these exist, regardless if we have a reasonable scientific explanation for how they achieve the functionality that they have. So in these videos, we see UFOs interacting with buildings, flying behind buildings. We see them moving in one direction and then shooting off another direction. And when they do that, the G-forces, if anybody was inside of this vehicle, would certainly kill them. We have UFOs that have been seen overtaking jets. We have all of these different anomalous objects that we simply can't explain in the UFO community, which is why we continue to talk about it. And until the capabilities of these objects are explained, they will be unidentified. What you really need is you need a scientist or a company or even a government to release information on how to build one of these objects. You need the public to see, what is the technology behind it that gives it this capability of hovering in place. Shooting off at remarkable speeds. That gives it the ability to fly past aircraft at thousands of miles an hour, and we still don't know what this object could be. These instantaneous movements from these objects show us that they have a capability that we simply have not replicated in some of our most advanced fighter vehicles. If the B-2 bomber could hover and then shoot off at tens of thousands of miles an hour, I assure you the government would give it that capability, but they haven't. So that either means that the capability is so protected that they won't even give it to their most advanced warfighters, or the technology is simply not ours. So what do you think? Are UFOs alien craft, or is this some sort of unidentified technology that somebody has made here on Earth? If you'd like to support our channel, there'll be links in the description below as well as in the pinned comment. That's the Unacceptable News. Don't like, don't subscribe, just run.